We're in the writing shed with Dani Pescuma. So grab a cuppa, settle down, and let's begin. Can I tell you something? In nearly 10 years of teaching women to write, I have never once, not once, had a student say to me, "I'm worried I'm too confident about my writing." I have never had anyone sit down in front of a blank page and think, "Oh, this is going to be easy. I'm definitely a real writer." Now, what I have heard more times than I can count in every workshop, course, or writing circle I run, in every inbox, email reply, every DM somebody sends to me, it's some version of this. I'd love to write, but I'm not a real writer. And today I want to talk to you about that sentence because I think it's one of the most expensive lies we tell ourselves. And I want to show you exactly what it costs. Now, this is episode 5 of In the Writing Shed. I am in the writing shed and you are here with me. And this episode is called Why I'm Not a Real Writer is the Most Expensive Lie You Tell Yourself. Now, I'm going to paint you a picture here. Tell me in the comments below if it sounds familiar to you. You have a notebook. Where is it? You have a notebook, maybe more than one. Beautiful ones. Probably the kind you bought with every intention of filling. You ran your hand over the cover of this notebook in the shop. You imagine the pages filling up with something important, something real, something creative, something funny, mysterious, scary. And then you got home and you opened it and you look at the blank first page and something like some small, cold, horrible voice just said, "Who do you think you are?" Maybe you wrote a few lines and stopped. Maybe you never started at all. Maybe that notebook is still sitting on your desk right now or in a cupboard somewhere, in a bookshelf. If you're watching this on YouTube, I am pointing at all my collection of notebooks. So the notebook's fine unbroken, waiting for the day when you feel like enough of a real writer to deserve its pages. I know this because I've lived it. And because women I work with tell me about their notebooks all the time. They started once, the ones they moved to a different drawer or cupboard door because looking at them just felt like a small daily failure. But listen to this. Here's what I want to say about that. The notebook isn't the problem. The blank page isn't the real problem. The problem is that voice, and today we're going to look at it very closely, so stick with me. By the way, if you are watching this and haven't subscribed to the channel or to the podcast yet, just click that button. So, when I was a teenager, I used to write constantly. Stories in the margins of my school notebooks when I was a bit bored. Characters are invented and returned to like friends of mine. Long, elaborate plots that went nowhere and everywhere at once. I had journals when I was a teenager and they were this thick because nobody had told me yet that I wasn't a real writer, so I just wrote. And then gradually the world weighed in, of course. In school, I was taught that writing had rules and that I was breaking most of them, basically. Exams taught me that a story was only good if it received a certain grade. I was good at writing, I thought. And at some point, without quite realizing it, I internalized a very specific idea of what a real writer looked like. And basically, I just wrote the essays from school from then on. So for me, back then, real writers were serious. They were educated in a particular way. They had read everything. They wrote in a particular register, formal or literary, or somehow weightier than anything I could produce. They were not me at all. And it took me years to unlearn that. Years and quite a lot of therapy and writing from the heart, filling journals, drafting my first novel, starting a few other ones, if I'm honest with you. And what I discovered on the other side of all that unlearning is this: that voice, the "who do you think you are" voice, is not really telling you the truth. It is telling you, funny enough, a story. And like all stories, it can be rewritten. Now, let me ask you something. What do you think a real writer is? Because I've thought a lot about this, and here's what I've come to. I think a real writer is someone who writes. That's it. Period. That is the entire definition. Not someone who is published or paid or praised all the time. Not someone who has read Proust and completed a course or never felt afraid of the blank page. A real writer is someone who sits down, picks up the pen or opens the laptop, whatever way you prefer, and simply writes. You know who was a real writer? Virginia Woolf, who suffered terribly with her mental health and wrote anyway. Agatha Christie, who wrote her first novel on a dare from her sister. Or Toni Morrison, who wrote her first book in the early morning hours before her children woke up, while working full-time and raising her sons alone. So, as you can see, none of them waited until they felt like a real writer. They wrote until they became one. And here's what the "I'm not a real writer" lie actually costs you. It costs you the stories only you can tell. It costs you the clarity that comes from putting your thoughts on paper. It costs you the community of other women who are sitting in the same silence, telling themselves the same lie, waiting for the same impossible permission that is going to come from I don't know where. And most of all, it costs you the joy, the deep, quiet, that specific joy of a sentence that lands on your page or on your computer screen exactly right. And that is not a small thing to lose, to be honest with you. So there is a moment in every workshop or writing circle that I run live, usually about 20 minutes in, where something changes and it's clear and I watch it happen. For example, someone will read a sentence they've just written and look up with this expression, slightly surprised, slightly disbelieving, like, did I really write that? And my answer is always yes. You did it. And it's wonderful. And that moment is not the exception. That is the rule for every woman who gives herself permission to try. The stories are already in you. They have always been in you. And they happen around you all the time, every single day. And the only thing standing between you and these stories is that voice. And the only thing that silences that voice is writing through it. So, what are we going to do? You guessed. We are going to write through it. Now, I want to ask you something. And I want you to really think about it for a moment. When did you last write something? Anything, just for yourself. Not for work, not for a caption, not because someone asked you to, not a school homework, not a uni homework, not an assignment, just because you wanted to. Did you think about it? If the answer is, I can't remember, that's not a confession. That's valuable information. It tells you something important about where the space for your own voice has gone. and how much it might mean to reclaim it. You are not behind, trust me on this. There is nothing here to catch up on. There is only this week, this Tuesday, this moment in the shed. And here's your invitation for this week, and I mean it with everything I have. So, before next Tuesday, I want to invite you to write one true thing. It doesn't have to be a story, doesn't have to be a beautiful or finished or shareable story. It can be one sentence in a notebook, on the back of an envelope, on a tissue you have hanging around. One true thing about your own life, just for you. Maybe it's a memory that keeps surfacing. Maybe it's something you've been meaning to write for days, months, or years. Maybe it's just, I stood at the kitchen window this morning and the light was extraordinary and nobody else saw it. That is writing. You are a real writer the moment you write it. And if you want to take it one step further, if today made you want to actually sit down and write something real, something from the page of your own imagination, I want to tell you about Waltz into Writing. What is Waltz into Writing? It's a 1-hour creative experience designed to take you from blank page to first paragraph or even a first page, gently with a little music and a lot of magic. And it's only £7. I'll put the link below in the show notes. And to be honest with you, it might be the best hour you give yourself this week. So that's all from the chat for today. Take whatever stayed with you, a thought, a feeling, a single line, and let it land somewhere. Your notebook or your laptop is waiting. So until next Tuesday, keep writing, keep imagining, and remember, your characters are already waiting. You just have to open the door. I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye!